Hello, all. I am Hannah, she, her, and my co host.
Hey, I'm Anna Rose, she, they. Welcome to As It Is Like It Was, a podcast dedicated to the artists around the world. Before we begin, a note on our content.
As It Is Like It Was is created for adult audiences only and may include graphic descriptions of violence, abuse, addiction, and trauma, discussion of sexuality and gender, discussion of mental illness and existential struggle, and some very filthy language.
The views, information, or opinions expressed during As It Is Like It Was are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Nothing Without a Company.
As It Is Like It Was is sponsored by you, our listeners. A plug for a new play. Check out Kumukahua Theater's last play in their 50th season, Untitled TMT Project. In the 2010s, the construction of a 30-meter telescope on Mauna Kea was announced. Author Susan Stanton uses theater to investigate the issues surrounding the TMT protests. Untitled TMT Project is a 360-degree view of the complex cultural and political forces that shape Hawaii. Untitled TMT Project runs on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 8 p.m. Hawaii time, and Sundays at 2 p.m. Hawaii time from today, June 10th through June 27th, 2021. For virtual tickets, visit kumukahuatheater.org, KUMUKAHUATHEATRE.org.
This is our 5th episode, airing live on Thursday, June 10th, with guest Val Gerard Garcia and Ellen Reed. Enjoy the show because it's a Pride Month show.
Happy Pride!
Yes, one of our two guests today is Val Gerard Garcia. Val, they is a queer Chicago-based artist and professional wrestler. Val has worked with NWAC as their dramaturg for their Jeff recommended show, Not One Ba Two. He was also featured in Something Different from Bearcat Productions. Val worked with other theater companies such as Eclectic, City Lit, Shattered Globe, alongside many more. When not in the theater world, Val is also an independent professional wrestler under the name Mateo Valentine. Val drives to have more queer AAPI representation from the stage, screen, behind the cameras, and production tables. We will not be ignored or forgotten.
Our other guest today is Ellen Reed. Ellen, aka Dust, is a Chicago-based playwright, director, DJ, and event coordinator that grew up in the suburbs of Northeast Texas. They have done many productions with NWAC, their last one being the collaboration 24-Hour Playfest done back in April. Currently, they are planning an event at the Golden Dagger Bar off Fullerton and directing an all-female version of King Lear for a collaboration with Zoom Shakespeare and the Quarantine Queens. They are super, super excited to be on this podcast, not only because they love Anna and Hannah, but also to talk about what self-care and mental health means to them as a trans NB. Did I say that right?
NB.
NB.
Yeah. NB. Just like it was
non-binary.
Let's start off with this. Why not? It's the Pride Month.
Yes, please.
So
hello, everyone.
So technically, Anna, you'd also be considered a fembi because you're a female non-binary. You're she, they. So you're also like considered a fembi. It's like newer language. That's why I had a sudden moment of realization where I'm like, oh wow, no one over the age of 30 uses this. I got to share this with Anna because you're also a fembi.
Fembi. So, I am a fembi.
So like a fem NB. Yes. Or
NB pansexual.
Me too.
Monogamous married person.
Not me yet. Who knows? Maybe one day.
Thank you for educating. God, problem. And it's so true, like 5 years, either older or younger, it really can change people's perspectives. Because I'm 37 and you said people under 30 are using this term?
Yeah,
you said
more so, yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
How, so Val, have you heard of NB too, or am I just totally off.
Yeah, I have. I'm 27 years old. I'm 27 years old, and I love you as time goes and it comes in exponential, and it happens, like society changes in an exponential factor. It's like when it comes to, you know, when it comes to queer history and all that, it's like all these, you know, and you know, NB, when you're talking about mental health, being neurotypical and all that, that kind of language is slowly being integrated into today's language, which is very fascinating to me. And like for me, and it's like I have the worry about trying to make sure I catch up, making sure because I have Filipino guilt, and it's just like, you know, it's like, you know,
is that
it's
different
like
from white guilt?
Yeah, that's Filipino guilt is just like you have God on you and all that stuff. It's just like, because it's just like because you don't want to make sure you offend anyone. You don't want to make sure you know, discredit anybody. So it's just like, because now as time goes by, especially when it comes to LGBTQIA people and history and all that, language is important.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I've heard NB as in like the capital N, capital B. I had never seen it spelled ENBY, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's a larger like way to pronounce it, or like more phonetically.
And it makes it a little bit cuter, you know, I feel like, which is always good. But
because capital letters are like in your face.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'm I'm just kind of fly on the wall. I had a fascinating like encounter with this problem recently. I was cast in this one play, this interactive play. It was it wasn't really even a theater company doing it. It was like someone's like dream project. It was called Boxed, and it was this social justice piece played out over 9 rooms, right? And one of the issues was like LGBT rights, and so I was cast as this like trans chief of police. And while we were in rehearsals, the director refused to use my pronouns. Refused to use.
The fuck?
I know. So I during break, you know, almost on the verge of tears, kind of came over to her, and I was like, look, I really think like you need to look at yourself in the mirror if you're trying to do a play about LGBT issues and you're not willing to use my pronouns. And she's like, well, English is my second language and I think pronouns are stupid anyway. You should probably get on the boat and stop copying an attitude. And
I got people that can handle that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not promoting violence. I'm not promoting violence on this podcast. I'm just saying.
I walked out. Look, I'm not there to deal with it.
Good on you.
I have more opportunities. I was like, I am a they them, and I am non-binary and proud, and I've worked too hard on my identity.
And how dare? And she said it was her second language. English is second language.
She's white Puerto Rican.
Okay, because I'm first generation Filipino, and however my mom and my dad immigrated from the Philippines, and so they had to learn the English language, and so therefore I grew up with broken English. I grew up with broken English, so as like time grew by and pronouns were a big thing, and pronouns were needed and validating and all that. I messed up my pronouns so hard,
because at least you're trying.
And I know, and I'm trying because
trying, and someone who goes
washes
their hands of it.
Oh yeah, I make sure I try so hard, because I think in the in Tagalog, in Filipino language, there's no pronoun to identify masculine or feminine. It's only
beautiful.
It was the way to identify a person, which is saying them, which is the word Shaw. And so, but then it's just like but you would use other context clues to identify that person, but you wouldn't use a pronoun. And so I think when they immigrated and they went through all this, English language and had to learn about pronouns and all that stuff, that's how I got messed up. So that's why when you hear a lot of Filipinos on like like service calls and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Sometimes they'll call you ma'am, sir.
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
get called
the-
ma'am sir at Jollibee all the time. It's great.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm going to Jollibee after this. But you know, it's like they'll call you ma'am,
Jollibee is
sir.
queer. You heard it here first. Jollibee is queer.
They'll call you ma'am, sir, just to make sure everything is all clear. I don't know what they'll do about the non-binary, the NB and non-binary, but I'm just like,
Right. I wonder
Not
because
exactly what
I like to justify people's actions for some reason because I like to see the good in everyone. So I like to understand why people do things that they do. So I wonder if because she's part of the Latin X community, which some Latin people don't even like the term Latinx because they're so masculine, feminine thinking, is because their language is masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
So you have to decide between one or the other. So I could imagine someone who grew up in that kind of binary one or the other would have a really hard time adjusting to.
Hard time adjusting is one thing, not trying at all and calling pronouns stupid.
but it was just like,
Right?
it was that ignorance that she said. And I was just like, girl, bye.
Like, yeah, it's
Right.
just like the fact that you're also doing a play about trans issues. About the character that I was playing is a woman in her 40s whose kid was part of a robbery who shot his best friend that he was in love with, and like has to deal with a lot of like emotions over being a mother instead of a father now, and like stuff like that. And like I told her, like, I don't feel safe trying to go into that space with you as my director. I think
You did the right thing. You did the right thing. I want to ask y'all a question because something happened to me online a few days ago that upset me. A friend of mine in the Black queer community asked it was kind of a comment question, like, maybe this Pride I'll find out what the difference between being bi and being pan actually is. And so I told her the definition that I thought it was, that I've grown to know what I thought it was, which is when you are bi, and I thought I was bi for a long time, you can be attracted to two genders. Doesn't matter what gender, just two genders. If you're pan, that means you're attracted to more than two genders. And I got reamed out by the community.
Really?
I got reamed out because some people are claiming that some people claimed that I was saying that bi meant being attracted to a man or a woman, which I didn't say that. I said two genders. They assumed a man or a woman.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing was, I should have reviewed it, but the other thing, I can't remember what they were pissed off about with the other thing. It was just like, y'all, I'm queer. Like I identify as pan. Like I said I thought I was bi, and then I realized I was attracted to trans people. So then I started identifying as pan. I hadn't been attracted to a trans person before I realized that I was pan. So I think they maybe assumed that because I was attracted to a trans person, I had to be pan and not bi. I don't know.
And
they were very upset.
A lot of the argument that I was reading through that was that people were saying, well, if you're attracted to a trans man or a trans woman, you can still be bisexual. And like, that makes sense to me. But people were also saying like that bisexual and pansexual are basically the same thing. Bisexual is just the 90s word for pansexual.
Because like I'm attracted to like T-spirit, I'm attracted to intersex, I'm attracted to I have an asexual partner. I'm attracted to trans people. I'm attracted to everyone. You know, there's yet to be one person I haven't been attracted to. So I'm crazy.
And I'm single. I am gay and single. That's my gimp. No, legit. I call so my wrestling name is For people
Yes,
who
please
are
tell us all about this lovely new thing that you're getting into, because I see
God.
how happy you are doing
Oh,
this.
thank
This
you.
is like
Okay.
so your self-care. I love it.
So yes. So for the people who are limited are site limited, I am Filipino with light brown skin with dark black hair. I am currently wearing a black t-shirt with pink font that says Fat Femme Asian with
Hell
the
yeah.
name Mateo Valentine on it. And I call
And
myself.
where can they get those t-shirts?
You can find them at wherever I am, because I will be selling them at the merch table.
Excellent.
But I call myself the Fat Femme Asian Sensation and professional wrestling's resident thirsty boy, because I am single. Because you guys are like talking about, it's like I have this, I have that. And I'm just gay and single. So and I use it as a gimmick and all that stuff. So I can just like, hi. So it's like when I'm in the ring across from someone, I'll be like, hi, I'm single. Do you want to go on a date? I will pay for it. It's like all that shit. But
So
anyways,
when you get yourself a partner, are you going to still use that as a gimmick?
I'll tell them.
Please do.
I have no idea. Okay.
You have to be,
I'm single.
You have to be a relationship anarchist, of course. You can't ever have a partner.
Right, or you can have a partner and be
something
poly. It can change your thing from I'm single to like we're poly. What's up? You need a unicorn.
It's just like I'm single for now. I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea.
I haven't heard the term unicorn in a long while.
Oh God, I love it.
Do people not use that term anymore? Is that not a thing?
Not really.
I was called
Who's the special guest?
I was called a unicorn for wrestling, I think one time. I think it was in some I don't know when, but I forget when, but it's just like they were just like, you're the unicorn of wrestling and something. I'm like, really? No, I'm not. Shut up.
Tell us the story. What got you into wrestling?
Okay,
You just all of a sudden got so into it.
So this all started really when I graduated college, because I always loved watching professional wrestling, because as a theater person who loved watching fight choreography and was scared to do fight choreography, I thought it was the ultimate form of physical theater and nonverbal communication and telling a story nonverbally. What got me into it was that I was part of a production of Peter and the Starcatcher for Citadel Theater. And unfortunately, there was a lot of abuses and negligence involved, to the point where the entire cast left the production prematurely. It is on Rescripted, and that kind of broke the camel's back, because it made me realize, because it was by Citadel Theater, who's a big theater in Chicago standards. So it's just like you want those connections. You want those connections, especially when you're starting out. I was relatively 2.5 years in, and getting a company like Citadel was a big thing. So it can help me go to bigger things, like a Broken Nose, like a New Colony, and all that. And I just remember just being so tired and not wanting to be there, because I just felt so little. I felt so little, which mean and not valued. And so it gave me this little thought in my head. It's like, why am I doing this if it's not making me happy?
Yeah.
And then I auditioned for another company that I used to respect, that now is completely. I completely do not like them. I don't care. I'll go on record to say it. Otherworld Theater Company. I auditioned for their Christmas wrestling show. They were doing a wrestling show. They were doing a wrestling show based on Christmas characters. And I'm like, I'm the freaking fan who loves professional wrestling and who watches it all the time. So might as well audition and like have my professional wrestling like zhuzh on. And so I auditioned and I didn't get it. And I was pissed off. And so start of January 2020, I decided to talk to some wrestling schools in Chicago and all that stuff. And the most important thing for me that I just wanted to know is that, is it LGBTQ plus friendly, and making sure it's a safe space for me, to making sure it's like, in case like I develop my character, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, I got put on hold for a couple, that when I asked them about that, I said I was interested in their school, and they told me, it's like, oh cool, you can come in during this time, sign the contract, and here's your and like we'll expect like a dump, and like here's your first month payment and all that stuff. And I wanted to email them. It's like, hey, I just want to make sure I'm an out and proud queer Asian.
And you got crickets.
And I got crickets. And then I got in contact. And then I got in contact. And then I got in contact with Chicago Style Wrestling over in River Grove. And I spoke with Steve Boz. He would I texted him, and then he was so nice, so warming, because he actually said, it's like, oh, let's have a phone call meeting before we even meet, so we can get through everything. And so we did the phone call meeting, and obviously for me, I was like, hey, I'm openly LGBTQ plus, I'm openly queer, and I'm not going to hide it or anything like that.
For you.
And I just wanted to make sure, is it a safe place? I'm not going to get, I said, am I going to get hate crimed? I do not want to get hate crimed and all that stuff. And he said, no, we would never, ever, ever, ever do that, and all that bullshit. And so that gave me breath. And so I shadowed a practice, and I have never looked back. I am still with Chicago Style Wrestling, and I have been wrestling for relatively over a year now.
That's awesome. That's
and your next show's coming up, right?
Yes,
or is it about like a match? What is the term?
Okay, it is a match. So next week, I will be in Berwyn Eagles Club in Berwyn, Illinois. It's a legendary wrestling location, where like a lot of women wrestlers who are now on TV and all that crap, they wrestled in there. And I'm a huge fan of women's wrestling, and how they created so much more movement and all that shit. So I will be there for Lucha Libre Total on the 18th, and then I will be on the 19th on that Saturday. I will be at Wow Tea at the same location.
Whoa.
Nice.
Yeah, Anna and I are planning to try to come out for one of those too, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm sorry if I keep on talking and all that.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Because I want to make sure I give Ellen some time.
I'm fine. Fine listening about it.
My here's what was really like two heartbreaking things. Okay, my character, we call them gimmicks in professional wrestling. My gimmick is essentially myself times 10, 100, or anything like that. So it's essentially me, but so queer and so gay that I'm doing gay shit in the ring.
I love that.
I'm doing gay. I am sitting. I am, bouncing off their chest like I'm like riding on that dick. I am using. Yes. I am slamming their face with my ass and all that.
I love it.
And the best part about it is that the crowd cheers for it.
Yes.
The crowd cheers for it. It's like, especially at like lucha shows such as LLT and WowT.
Yeah.
They would shout beso, which means kiss in Spanish. So they want us to kiss.
Oh,
and all that. And so I have never and then and like a couple of my tag team's friends came to see it, and they were cheering me and my tag team partner on like it was hotcakes, we're the good guys. They wanted us to make sure that we won, all that stuff. And like his friends came over and we're just like, we're totally queer and these people are cheering gay people like hard and like wanting to take a picture with you guys.
That's amazing.
It touched them. It touched them so hard that it's like it's just like there is such thing, especially in Chicago, because it is a city and all that, that there can be a safe space in professional wrestling for LGBTQ plus. And that's what I hope to create in Chicago and all that. And then another time that happened was at one of the shows, I was watching my friend wrestle, and these two little girls come up to me, and oh God, they said to me, "I loved your match. You're my favorite wrestler." And I'm just like, I'm just like, don't say that. Don't say that. And I'm just like, I'm a gay ass bitch. It's like, what the hell?
I love seriously, you just embraced who you are. And it took, like, I saw the struggle that you were struggling the last few years with doing that. And I am so proud of you for finding this and finding yourself and getting out there.
Yeah. And it took a lot of like a lot of time, because I was so into theater and so into working with those companies, and especially when the pandemic hit, and unfortunately when George Floyd protests, especially WeSeeU White American Theater happened. It just reignited that pain that I had for Chicago theater, because as the pandemic happened, you two have seen this. Everybody decided to create a lot of like main theater companies, especially the non-union ones, decided to do "We Stand in Solidarity" posts.
Yeah.
And as a person of color, I called so much bullshit.
And I was living for it.
And I was just like calling so much bullshit, because I was just like, you guys are a predominantly white theater company that mostly value people of color as a way to make sure that you guys aren't labeled as racist.
Mm-hmm. Like, and they have the one black show or the one Latinx show.
They casted the one Asian.
Right.
The one Asian and all that stuff.
Suddenly they're supportive.
Yeah, and then they're fully supported and all that bullshit. And so I decided to DM almost every, like, during the pandemic and during those protests, I decided to DM every single mostly almost all those theater companies that made solidarity posts, to be like, I hope you follow through with it since when the pandemic is ending and things are reopening. And then I talked to my therapist, and she told me it's like that you are being constantly gaslit the entire time, because as a person of color, you kind of know, you already know the answer.
Yep.
Which is,
and it's sad.
I'm about to cry because I'm just like, oh, it's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking.
And you did something about it too.
Yeah, I did something about it. And especially when like the biggest thing that happened to me was, especially during this pandemic, is that there is a I can't say it because I don't know if I'll be sued or be sued for defamation of character, but I made a petition to have a person stand down as an executive director of a notable theater company and this person and their actions have essentially abused their power. Mm-hmm. I think Dusty know. I think Dusty know who this is.
We all know. We all know who this is.
I entered that space back in 2013.
Yeah, I worked with them 2 or 3 times. Didn't make any money.
And then they stepped down, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then things went on, and then I got an email saying, hey, this lawyer office is contacting us because this person is claiming defamation of character and all that. And so getting that, I was just like, you know what, I am currently like on a sabbatical with Chicago theater, because I'm just like, why should you stand in solidarity with Black people, Indigenous, and other people, Latinx, Asians, and other people of color, and you do this to another person of color.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's disrespectful.
It just totally broke my heart, because I'm just like, these are the companies that I wanted to be in, and they can't understand that they participate in such a racist institution, that it's up to them to make sure that they change that structure and change their own narrative. And it's just like so hard. And so
sorry you went through that. It sucks.
I'm grateful for it.
You're in a better place now.
Yes, I'm
such better things.
Yes, I am. I am grateful to go through that journey, because that journey turned me into a kick-ass professional wrestler that I am right now.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're able to channel that activism into some other type of art. And the beautiful thing I think about wrestling specifically is like you are acting. Like you are telling stories, and it's wonderful, but you're also physical.
I'm also physical. I know people don't like when violence is being used as a tool to tell a story, but I'm like, girl,
it's fun.
It's fun. Like, it's fun. Okay. And also, and it's like, yes. Okay, I'm gonna say this right here, right now. Yes, we get it. As a professional wrestler, we know that wrestling is fake. Wrestling is fake, but so is Shakespeare, so is every other play, so is every TV show that you watch, so is every music that you listen to. We know the ending. We know the ending. Film. We know the end. Like the actors and everybody else that works on that knows the ending. It's up to the consumer to be like, what the hell happened? So I just really hate that when people are like, it's fake, right? I'm like, just shut the fuck up. It's just like,
you're like, the Marvel universe is fake, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, you know that RuPaul's Drag Race is fake, right? Like, we already know that who's going to win.
So yeah, we used to say in NWAC that if there wasn't a fight scene in the show, then that's not cool. We have to have at least one.
Yeah, it wasn't a show.
So Ellen, I wanted to chat about your last year, because I know you have worked a lot and you've like kind of transitioned from being more experimental playwright to going into directing. And I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about like wanting to be a part of theater companies, and you were such an amazing fan of NWAC for such a long time as an observer, and then you started slowly working with us and then became a company ensemble member, and and
feel proud of that.
And then we're kind of like on hiatus and not really doing anything, and you're like, oh well shit, I guess I got to work somewhere else. So like,
basically,
one, has your experience becoming a part of NWAC, like, has that been what you thought it was going to be? And then I want to hear more about what you've been doing.
Funnily enough, it definitely was not what I thought it was going to be. I'm very ambitious by nature, and so I immediately thought going into NWAC, I'm like, I'm gonna have an entire season to myself by like 2 years in. And working with y'all and kind of seeing more the process behind it, I'm like, holy crap, this is a lot of fucking work. And like, especially talking with Anna, there was a point where I was trying to create my own theater company, and then that fell through. And so mostly it's just been like admiration over the years, like, and gratefulness that I'm allowed to be a part of this theater company that puts forward, marginalized voices first, and that it cares about that first. So, and that's been the greatest joy. Y'all are always still first on my list. Like, if I have other schedules, I will like put those to the side for NWAC always. But
me too.
Yeah, it's been sad while y'all have been on hiatus. It's like the theater community.
Yeah,
I'm ready for stuff to get back live again. Hopefully soon. Hopefully.
Yeah, because you do a lot of experimental work, not just like playwriting, but I feel like Zoom play format is experimental.
Very different. It's very.
And you started directing more for the Zoom format.
Well, I started directing for Shy Dramatist when I was heading up their the directing part of their Playwrights Aloud program, which took like younger playwrights and people who are just kind of getting started and taking 10-minute plays of theirs we chose during a Sunday night. We like chose them, produced them, and rehearsed them all within a 3-hour period. So I feel like, you know, the NWAC like 24-hour format really did prepare me for that. And doing that every Sunday at the end of 2019 kind of prepared me to go into 2020 looking for smaller works to direct. And so I went into 2020 directing for Jazz Fran Entertainment, and ended up directing one of my 10 minutes for them, and we were gonna turn it into like this weird little Zoom TV show, but I was like, I just feel like I would have been putting in so much work for not that much reward. And because that's the thing with Zoom, is that it's an entirely different medium. You can't treat it like film, can't treat it like theater. It's completely
right,
because you're in one frame the entire time. So you have to play within the space of that frame, you know? You have to play with the empty space, and there's a lot more of it, and every person's a front seat audience member. You know?
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Spencer Davis about that, and we were shooting the shit back and forth about Zoom theater and how like different it's kind of caused sort of theater to become, because they did a spin over at Broken Nose, and that production was okay. I liked sort of what they did with it, but I found that Zoom theater is best when you pare it down to just the words. And it's funny, I tried to do all these sound effects and stuff like that in the beginning, but you can slowly see as my Zoom theater career kind of, I guess, comes to a close now that live theater is reopening again. You can see it sort of just get pared down to the words until recently. My last Zoom production was a play of mine that was literally just two people sitting there talking to each other for literally an hour. It was a therapist appointment that I wrote about. And
so you made it based in realism.
Exactly. And so it became
so proud of you. So proud of you.
More realistic. I know. So
I know that you struggled with that. I kept being like, Ellen, just it's site specific. Make
Will
it
helped me a lot with it though, because the dialogue of realism does not come naturally to me, but once you base it in character, it does. And if you base it in the character's dramatic journey and don't worry about so much the setting, then you can get realism out of anything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How did you start working with dramatists? Was it Carson Becker that brought you in?
Yeah.
Or
Carson Becker met me the production of Pacololo Suite, and we started talking, and they needed a like assistant for their experimental playwriting class, and that kind of fell through. So I ended up working for Will Dunn in his scene shop class, and the scene shop class has been going on since the 70s. So it's like really established in both San Francisco and in Chicago. And he kind of, through working with playwrights who absolutely do not understand experimental work, I kind of had to force myself to write more realistically. But that's how I got involved with Chicago Dramatists. I also know Glenn from Columbia. Yeah, Glenn was a year under us. And for those listening, I went to Columbia with Hannah. That's how I met.
Yeah. Actually, you were the first person, Ellen, who made me understand they, them aside from the English language, right? Because I was in the fiction writing program, and I was taking fucking classes where like they, them was descriptor for multiple people, not singular person.
Yeah.
And so it was Ellen and I had met in a Carson Becker class, and you began transitioning kind of through school and explained to me, we had a conversation like outside of class one day where you explained to me in a way that like it opened my brain up, because I was writing a pigeon play and you were saying like they, them is like pigeon for gender.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like that just like busted my brain open, and it was like, oh, I get this word now. Like I understand how this is a pronoun. Like it makes sense.
I have such a specific memory of this instant right outside the fucking guest. I know exactly what you're talking about. That was a fun class. That was a fun show. You were still working on Not One Bought Two at the time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was working on it in the class, and Carson Becker actually like hooked me up with the Hawaii Theater, and then I'm currently a resident playwright.
I didn't know you met him through Carson.
Yeah, because Carson used to be Carson used to be the literary manager of the kids
Honolulu
company.
Theater for Youth.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
they did a reading of Not One Batu for Hana so she could hear it out loud when we were there. And then they invited Harry Wong, who is Kumu's artistic director. So
you're resident
And it
for
was-
Akuma now.
No, I'm a 50th season writer for Kumu. They don't have residents,
Okay.
and so I'm currently a 50th season
Oh.
writer. And then with the Chicago Dramatists, I'm a resident writer there for the next couple of years, I think.
I kind of
Not
okay,
One
yeah.
Batu is such an amazing fucking show.
That
Oh
is
my
an
God.
amazing show,
So
but
good.
let's just address when is Chicago Dramatist going to do one of your pieces then? Because like
I
you've been a
don't-
resident writer for a bit, and I feel like they look all.
Well,
all
I-
things
well-
I feel like they slighted you. Like
The thing I
what's going on with
understand
that?
though about Chicago Dramatists is they're not really production, they're more development, right? So like I've developed plays under dramatists. So
oh, have
the
you?
Kasha
what have
of
you
Kaimuki.
developed under dramatist? Just curious.
The Kasha of Kaimuki I had wrote and dramatists did a reading of through their Saturday series. And
Okay,
so
cool.
Which I
so like
directed
there's Anna
and
directed
produced.
that.
and
Yes.
then
Because
they
she does
put on
everything.
their page. I hear what you're saying, Ellen. And I feel the
like there
same
should be
way.
more. I just feel like there should be more. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
Yeah.
If you're a resident
Hana,
writer, like,
Hana,
are
you're
you,
one of my favorite writers, so I'm always going to be biased when it comes to this.
No, and Hana, and what I love about what I love about Hana is that Hana always remembers culture and how important culture
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what was important. And so
Integral
I
to
think
Hana's words. It's integral to every single plot beat. Is
yeah,
the
and so
words.
when I see, Not One Batu, Pakalolo, and seeing, AAPI, especially for me, because AAPI's representation is so fucking important to me. And I remember when I worked Not One Batu and hearing people say, this is my first, like, can you imagine like being in this field for so long, you hear, and we had our incredible honey girl Marie Treadway, who is now on who is on Chicago Med.
yeah,
Yes!
big thanks. She's
Of
actually
course.
on
Yeah.
episode
Duh.
2 of the podcast as
Yeah,
well.
And on episode 2, go check it out after. But it's like when she said, I distinctly remember this. She said, "This is my first time playing my culture, playing my race," and I'm like, "Girl,
Yeah.
this is
You-
it's alarming."
You
That's
also did
real
a
bad.
badass dramaturgy packet for that show. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen an
Thank you.
amazing dramaturgy packet.
Yeah,
Thank
I like
you.
show it to dramaturgs that are like trying to come into
Oh,
our company,
really?
and I'm like, "Can you do something like this?" Because
We
this
just
is
need
where
to
our
hire
bar
Val
is
again.
at
We just
now.
need to-
I will say that's the most vivid vision I have of Not One Batu is when I come in and like you would greet us, because that's every single time like
Oh.
I come in, you'd be like, "Oh, hello," and then it's like instantly I'm there. I'm in Hawaii, like the world. Like
yeah.
it was so
Thank you.
absolutely amazing. You did such a great job.
For our listeners, if you'd like to check out Not One Batu, we do have a video version that we'll just share it with you.
Mhm.
We wanted
Yeah,
to
no,
get
but
it-
it's like
get it
I
out there.
think Hana, I think whoever Hana Epstein is working with, it's like you really need to produce her plays seriously, because I feel like, and I'm gassing you up, and I don't give a fuck. Um,
Yeah.
Gas her up all the
No,
time.
it's true.
It's like her voice is so needed in this community, especially when it comes to
It's not just AAPI though; it's also mental health. 'Cause
It's also
Hana,
mental
you talk about
health.
mental health too, and a lot of playwrights, they'll have depressed characters, but they don't talk about it.
They don't talk
those
about it.
characters really go into what it means to be depressed, like in Pakalolo, or what it means to really have that like anger, like in Not One Batu. You know
Yeah,
what I mean, or that addiction.
yeah. And
So-
so I feel like whoever Hana Epstein is working with is just like whoever's listening to this, whoever's watching this, produce her shit. It's
I
needed.
already see
in
her
this
head
company.
getting big. We need to move on to a different.
I'm like, oh, get me paid. Actually, like I'm more so thinking about how when we started Nothing Without a Company, like what 15 so years ago or whatever it was, 2008
so
we
old.
incorporated.
Oh God,
But
it's a
like
teenager.
I was learning how to write plays, and Ike Holter, who was a founding member of this company, he had told me
Happy late
like,
birthday, Ike.
yes, he wanted to write plays where characters happen to be gay. And I'm like, I didn't understand that. And he's like, it's not like you don't need to talk about the being gay. They just are gay. They just are depressed. They just are Hawaiian. They just are Filipino. They just are these things that you don't need to actually like go into the struggles of. It's just part of what shapes their character. And so that is kind of what I took that piece of advice and I was like, oh, that's interesting. How do I play with that within plays? How
Mhm.
do I discuss mental health and have something be all about mental health without really talking about it?
It's
So
that
speaking-
TikTok. It's that TikTok thing. Tell me you're talking about mental health without telling me you're talking about mental
Right.
health.
So speaking of mental health, what did we all do today to help with our self-care
Oh
for
wow.
this week? What are
Shopping.
things- I know you love shopping.
I have done nothing yet. I bought tickets to go to a Sophie night event on the 26th at Golden Dagger. You should come down. It'll be fun. We'll dance together.
I've been. I can't believe I'm saying this. I've been going to the gym 3 times a day.
Hell yeah.
Not 3 times a day. I've been going to
Wow.
the gym 3 times a week. Because
3 times a
professional.
day. Yeah.
I'm not. No. I still hate it because professional wrestler and all that stuff. I need to work on that. But and then also for me going to practice is my therapy. Is my form of self-care. Even though it sucks because I'm just like they're just telling me like run the ropes, fall down, get on this, blah blah blah, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just like okay, let's do it.
I haven't yet, but usually DJing is my therapy.
Do you
Really?
DJ for your building or like for the neighbors? Like, do you open the window and like
I
crank
do
it
open
up?
the window a lot of times, but like mostly I just do it for my friends and for myself. I've been starting to throw events though, so keep your
Your
eyes
specialty.
out. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your
maybe
specialty?
you can like
Oh, my
incorporate
what's
the
my
rave play.
specialty?
Yeah, what's your specialty? Is it house, electronica,
It's-
EDM?
It's like if Dungeons and Fairies fucked.
Okay. Oh, I get it. Oh, I get it.
Oh,
I get it.
yes.
I get it.
That's some
Like,
weird
really
shit, is what you're saying.
industrial hyper pop, if that's like a thing. Like
I get it. Yeah.
Really,
I
like-
love it.
I'm really influenced by Sophie. I'm also really influenced by like the avalanches and vapor waves. So like really like hazy type stuff that you pull on top of like really crazy angry rap that you then put like an industrial beat under. Or I'll like do stuff with like Aramaic chanting and put beats underneath that. It just depends on what I want to do.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Or do you do like a Zoom shows or are you doing like
No, I just recently had my
in-house?
first show at the Golden Dagger on June 7th. I was paid to do some dark disco then, so I did like 2 hours of like well, they asked me for disco, and I was like, "Can I make it dark?" And and so it's like
You
I'm
changed
totally down
you
for doing
changed
it,
you
but
changed the key to Last Dance by Donis.
it basically, and I've always felt more in tune with that because dark disco is much more popular in Mexico. Disco is a little
yeah.
more popular here, and so being from Texas and like that sort of like music kind of just permeates the airwaves. And so like I just felt a little bit more comfortable doing that, but it was a super fun night. And then we have a cyberpunk night coming up on July 8th. So I'm really excited.
I'm so
hopefully gonna
jealous.
get
I
my
want to go
friend-
there.
Yeah, I'm hopefully gonna get my friend Heron to be tattooing, and then we might have another vendor. It could be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Oh my god, that sounds so fun.
So how are y'all both feeling about vaccines? Are you completely vaxxed?
Yeah, I'm next.
I've been completely vaxxed since March because I am considered a healthcare worker, even though I do work from home.
Okay. And were y'all nervous about it at all? I was kind of nervous, but
No, I love
I'm
needles.
still alive. So
Listen, I said this to myself, okay? I said this to myself. Please don't judge me. Please don't judge me, internet or anyone that's listening here. I say, listen to people. It's like when people say it's like I'm scared of getting the vaccine and all that stuff. I say, listen, I suck dick and get fucked in the back rooms and in alleys. Okay. Most of the time bareback. Okay. I'm gonna get poked twice so I can get poked in the summer.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to be, it's like you want to be it's like all my friends, it's like I always tell them, it's like if you want to go back to being hoe shit in the summer because it's hot girl summer right now and hot boy summer and hot hoe summer, get the Fauci ouchies.
Ouchies.
Get the Fauci ouchies so you can be a hoe again, because like all these bars and everything else require a full vaccination card so you can do it and all that shit. So I'm just saying I wanted to be a hoe again. Sorry, mom and dad. Sorry, my sister who's probably watching this. I wanted, 27 fucking years old, and I'm on prep.
You get to be a hoe if you want to.
But I'm just like, if you want to be a hoe and not have to worry about corona, if you don't want to have to worry about it, get the vaccine.
Okay, but I'm not gonna be being a hoe. No judgment, but I still think that I should have gotten the vaccine. I'm going to see my 91-year-old grandma in Texas.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying it's like, I'm getting the vaccine because I want to see my relatives back in in North Dakota.
They also
South
probably
Carolina.
want to be hoes too.
True, T. but that's what I always say. It's just like this pandemic has taught us a lot, and like how important human contact is. Yeah, and it taught me. It's like we took it for granted and all that shit.
Oh, definitely, I think so.
And so when I'm told it's like there's a chance and all that to, go back to like human contact, I'm like, I'll take it. I've gone through worse, right. But I don't know about you three, but it's just like I've gone through different shit.
Yeah, same.
Nothing scary, but it's just like
things for me.
It's scary every day out there. What you talking about? We live in Chicago.
It's not that bad.
It's not.
It's not that bad. I hate when people are just like,
don't tell the internet that we're Chirac. Don't tell the
do not tell the internet we're Chirac.
We're
shootings. I literally saw a man dying from my couch in my apartment. So from being shot. So it is kind of bad.
You need to get out of Uptown.
Rent control though.
Hey, I got a name. They call me Smiley, okay?
Yeah, they call you in the neighborhood? They know you? That's so funny. That's
I'm Smiley's wife.
Smiley's wife.
No, oh my God.
Well, I was hoping that there would be a little bit more change with this pandemic as far as like how people treated their bodies, like with intaking food, remembering to drink water more, just being more physically active and better to ourselves physically. But I don't necessarily see
I think it was quarantine drain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was because most of the time we all expected, it's going to be 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into 3 months. 3 months turned into 6. 6 months turned into a year. Mm-hmm. And so I think we were all just like, in my opinion, I just think that we were all just drained for like the hope that of going back to a new sense of normalcy that we kind of was like, okay, we said that we were going to do these things, but I'm getting sick and tired of it.
So as it is, we're basically back to where we were before,
unfortunately.
Almost.
Well, and not only just physically and like mental health wise, but with the theater thing, like Val, what you were talking about earlier, you're calling out all these companies, and I'm seeing these same freaking companies doing cis white men plays for cis white audiences, casting cis white people. And so they have people of color in
in positions of power, but they're the token, and we all know that they're being controlled by societal majority.
So do you think
absolutely.
that it's like it was before?
I feel like in the terms of Chicago theater, I feel like, okay, so I'm holding a ruler. For the limited sighted. And so this is like one time, I feel like this is like the timeline. I felt like we branched off. So this is like one thing, and we kind of went down one way right here.
Into a gay
But-
timeline?
Including gay timeline, but you can kind of see it's a little bit of the same distance.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna choose to believe that we went into not a dark parallel universe, but a super gay parallel universe.
Yes, the super gay universe.
And we'll just continue as queers of this nation to stand up for what is right and make the world a better place.
We
And
have
not
to
give
be
up.
the change we want to be in society.
Exactly.
You know?
That is exactly what this group that I'm working with, ECCSC, ex-cons for social change.
Yeah.
That's their logo. That's their
Yeah.
thing. They're like, you
Because-
gotta
yeah.
be the change you want to see.
Yeah, especially when I was told that as a person of color all the time. I was told from other people of color, just like, you cannot expect people to change. You have to be the change. No, I was told this. I was like, you have to be the change. So it'll either start a domino effect, or they'll see you and you'll do your own thing, and they'll want to aspire and want to be doing what you're doing, and
You have to be a
walk your
good
footsteps.
example.
I don't know though.
Yeah.
So I come from a scene when I'm not like, when I'm relaxing, I'm mostly dancing. I come from a scene that was built by queer people,
Mhm.
people of color, Black people, Indigenous, like built by that. And so I kind of low-key expect white people to pay their dues. When people ask for money on Instagram, I kind of low-key expect all my white friends to do it, and I do it too. I send money because that's what I can do.
Mhm.
And I expect it from people. And I don't think it's weird to expect that from people because it's 2021. You know what I mean? Like, these
Fair,
scenes were
yeah.
built by queer people of color.
That's my hope, and that's my hope. I think it's like, for me as a queer person of color, it's just like with the generational and cultural trauma that I've experienced. I hope that they see it's like these big well-known companies in Chicago theater. I'm not going to name them because you know who you are.
Yeah.
You know who you are, and tell each other, it's just like, you guys know that you guys benefited from a systemic racist infrastructure and institution, and it's up to you guys to change the narrative and make sure that that your guys' theater space is safe for everyone and for every consumer, and not just for your producers. I'm trying to figure out from a producer perspective, because we live in a capitalist society. I'm just figuring out, what can a producer do to tell the artistic directors and everybody else to be like, I want to see more people of color productions. I want to see more people of color behind the table and all that stuff. And it's like, if I do see that, then I'll donate money and all that shit.
Well, and it's not just that, it's paying them.
Yeah.
It's paying artists. Like, that has been a huge problem too. If you don't have money to pay people, and $50 isn't paying people for a production.
Well, I'm currently on that with wrestling.
Okay, but
It's also a
that's-
passion.
It's different.
that's
It's
a
different.
pa-
It's
well,
different.
It's a different community too.
Yeah.
And right now we're focused on the theater community.
Yeah, on the theater aspect. Yeah, when you're doing
but
six,
We should do
when you-
wrestling next.
when you do
Yeah, when you're
do
doing 6 shows a freaking week, like,
and you
getting
rehearse for 8
paid-
weeks,
right?
almost every fucking day, I should see at least three digits on my stipend. Freaking Otherworld Theater.
At least. Well, y'all are freaking dope. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was so nice to get to talk with you, Val.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on As It Is, Like It Was. I'm Anna Rose E.E. Epstein. And you can find me at Anna Rose II Epstein on Instagram. Or if you want to check out my current passion right now, you can find True Social Equity in Cannabis on Instagram or on YouTube, and check out all the fucked up stuff going on in the social equity cannabis industry in Illinois, and it's happening throughout the country.
And I am Hannah E. Epstein, and you can find me on Instagram at HCat5. If you are looking for a prideful LGBTQ theater to support, check out aboutfacetheater.com, aboutfacetheater.org.
Yeah, and then Val, how can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Mateo Valentine 829. That is MAT as in Tom, EO, V as in Victory, AL as in Larry, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, TIN as in Nancy, E 829, again on Instagram. And then you can find me again on Mateo Valentine 8 on Twitter. I post a lot about professional wrestling and not a lot about theater, so expect a lot of professional wrestling stuff.
And Ellen, how can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. It has a link tree to all of my stuff, like my digital art and stuff on there. It's at D and then 3 underscores US and then 3 underscores T. So it's at Dust, but with like underscores in between the D and the U and the S and the T.
Well, thank you so much to our guests, Val Garcia and Ellen Reed. You, our audience, can email us with any questions or comments at Hannah@nothingwithoutacompany.org or Anna Rose at nothingwithoutacompany.org with As It Is Like It Was in the subject line. And you can support As It Is Like It Was by donating at nothingwithoutacompany.org. Share the podcast with your friends and family, and subscribe, follow, and like us on the socials. We are now on Instagram at @AsItIs_like it was.
That's the lowdown.